welcome. So today we're going to be talking about Dave Mazzella, Applegate Christian Fellowship. So when I was there, that's where I met Dave. Now Dave's claim to fame, of course, was he was this ex-neo-Nazi skinhead, and he'd been in this murder involved with this Mr. Syrah gentleman up in the Portland area a number of years before. So that's where I met. Mike Barrett came along with him a little while later, so that's where I met them at the church. We were there for 6 years together, grounds crew, building cleanup, janitors, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so when I caught him again on the YouTube years later now, because he's done American Justice and he's done this, if you see later on in this video, he does more Oprah stuff later on in 2011 from 1988 or so. But he says he's repented, he's a changed person. Well, he was just another go along, get along at Applegate. He was a part of that abuse and the lies and the violence and the misery there too. He was a pastor at the church for a while too. And so when Dave Mazzella goes on these shows and says he's different, he's not different at all. It's just that he can't be the skinhead anymore on the streets, but he's still the same Dave, still the same abusive monster. So he just goes to Applegate and terrorizes those children, terrorizes those women in their little cult crap that they do, and he feeds his appetite. Well, but as things go by, you know, you just run out of favor. It gets old, you get moved out, whatever it is, and they got to move on. Well, I found out a number of years ago that my roommate I was there with at Applegate for 2 years, Dan Mann, had become his business partner. We lived at the health food store up the road from the church for about 2 years. Well, Dan Mann was in that Calvinist reform, all that anti-Semitic stuff. I argued with him, wasn't every other week. If it was in a week as every other week, arguing with him about it. I'd never heard that before. What is this kind of garbage? Well, it turns out that that's what Dave Mazzella's always been doing. He's always been the white Christian and all the garbage. But he never repented of that stuff. It's just, he just does something else. But when he became business partners, they go, man, you really are a monster, because you just said you'd change and you got away from all that stuff. Well, he never got away from any of that stuff. So when you see him on the Oprah Winfrey show, for example, you see the old interview he did, and then they come back on in 2011, and you see Mike Barrett apologizing and crying into his hand, and you see Dave Mazzella saying, I'm sorry, his sap routine he does. Well, remember that's in 2011. And for 8 years I'd been saying something already. I'd said something to my church. I'd gone down to Costa Mesa and said something to that church in the media. I'd said something in Albuquerque Calvary Chapel in the media. I'd said something in Tucson Calvary Chapel in the media. I'd already gone to Eugene where you see that video where the police are. So I've been saying something to all the media. Now Oprah Winfrey is the media. Now Oprah, you can't get any bigger than her. What does she know? She brought him back on there again. Does she know? Does she not know anything about him? Because now it's been 12 more years that people have been being told. So you see, these are more people that Applegate has touched. You can't get any bigger than Oprah Winfrey. But what does she know? Was she duped? Was she lied to when she brought them back on to have this interview where they get to say they're sorry and they're changed? She didn't make one mention of Applegate. If you ask Dave Mazzella and Mike Barrett about Applegate Christian Fellowship, well, they're going to be a lot different. Because near the end of my time there, because we were friends for 6 years, but near that time there, that last 3 weeks I was at Applegate, asking about the teachings, and we were arguing, everybody was mad. Well, you saw another side of Dave Mazzella. You saw that anger and that hatred, that violence. He was just screaming at me. For why? The teachings? No. Some end times theology questions? No. It's because they were being exposed. Because I wasn't one of them, and it wasn't the script. And when I started asking questions, they just didn't like any of it. F you, get out, get out, get out. They were just screaming mad. But as time goes by, he has to leave too. And so, but Dave always has this claim to fame. He'll meet you and say, I was part of a murder in Portland. That's his claim to fame. He used to tell me, hey Mike, you got to come over and we'll go watch these old movies I got. Because I was on Oprah. He was on that Geraldo episode where Geraldo got hit in the face and his nose busted. You know, nobody feels sorry for him. But he was on that episode. So he always wanted me to come watch all these videos with him. And I think, I don't want to go watch all that stuff. But if you repented, you wouldn't be doing all that stuff. And so it's interesting. You just wonder, what does Oprah know? Who is she? Was she duped by these people? I mean, I would think she would be upset that these people had played her to get back on there to have this whole episode where they get to say they're sorry and they're changed people. But yet nothing about how they were monsters at Applegate Christian Fellowship along with everybody else. And so I think it's important for people to get Again, all the information, make an informed decision. So whenever you see these people, you have to understand, you don't know who, I mean, see Oprah out there, you don't know who's who. Maybe she can explain what happened, what she lied to, because you can't tell the media more than I've told the media, and she's part of the media. Anyway, this is just kind of a recap of the story. And as you see, and you see as I'm posting things along through this video, just to give you more information about it. So anyway, this is Mike Stinnett in the Office for Truth.